and welcome to this edition of World Today. The world right now is tensed over the growing tension in the Middle East. World leaders stress on de-escalation, but both Iran and Israel refuse to back down. The Israeli military on Monday warned residents in part of Iran's capital to evacuate ahead of Israeli strikes. And within hours of the warning, Iranian state broadcaster headquarters in Tehran was bombed during a live broadcast. Suddenly, an explosion that occurred, cutting out the screen behind her as she hurried off camera amid dust and debris wafting in the air, and sounds of Allahu Akbar were heard from off-screen. The broadcast quickly switched to pre-recorded programs. Israel had issued a warning to evacuate the area of Iran's capital where the TV studios are located an hour earlier. In fact, Israel Defense Minister in a statement said, and I quote, "The Iranian regime's propaganda and incitement broadcasting authority was attacked by the IDF after a widespread evacuation of residents in the area. We will defeat the Iranian dictator everywhere," unquote. The latest salvo comes after a weekend of escalating tit-for-tat attacks between Israel and Iran that raised fears of a wider, more dangerous regional war. Iranian missiles struck Israel's Tel Aviv and the port city of Haifa, killing people and destroying homes, prompting Israel to warn that Tehran will pay the price, and soon. Iran has also warned residents of Tel Aviv to evacuate areas where Israeli military infrastructure is located. On the other hand, Tehran has spoken to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman to ask the US President Donald Trump to press Israel to agree to an immediate ceasefire. In return, Iran to offer flexibility in nuclear negotiations with USA. Israeli Air Force is currently continuing to attack military targets in central Iran.
A devastating wave of missile strikes from Iran. Loud explosions were heard in Israel's Haifa area as some of the Iranian missiles slipped through Israel's missile defense, hitting civilian areas. Israel and Iran launched fresh attacks on each other, killing scores of civilians and raising fears of a wider conflict. Eyewitness images showed thick plumes of smoke rising next to a refinery plant in Israel's Haifa. Iran struck both Tel Aviv and Haifa overnight, killing at least 5 people, increasing Israel's death toll to over 33. Fire trucks were seen at oil refinery in Israel's Haifa after an Iranian barrage of missiles hit various locations across the country. Israel said its pipelines and transmission lines in Haifa have been damaged by Iranian missile strikes. Several residential buildings in a densely populated neighborhood of Tel Aviv and Petah Tikva were destroyed in a strike that blew out the windows of hotels and other nearby homes. Meanwhile, Israeli army released a video which showed a strike on military site in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Israeli Air Force also identified and eliminated surface-to-air missile launch troops seconds before they reached the launchers south of Tehran. The Israeli troops were eliminated and the launcher was destroyed in Israeli strike. Israeli Defense Forces also precisely struck command centers belonging to the Quds Force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian military. Israel said in these command centers were hubs of Quds militia operatives planning advanced terrorist attacks on Israeli cities.
We are here because of an existential war. Think about what would happen if Iran had nuclear weapons. We embarked on a war of salvation against the threat. Iran will pay a heavy price for the killing of civilians. We will strike them. We will deliver them a crushing blow. they will feel our might.
The West Asia war widening and threatening to engulf the entire region. Bureau Report, India Today.
A day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that regime change in Iran could be a result of Israel's military attacks, the exiled Crown Prince of Iran too has come out with a similar statement. This comes at a time when the Iranian parliament is preparing a bill to leave the nuclear non-proliferation treaty.
The Iranian people realize, and the world needs to realize, that the root cause of the problem has been the regime and its nature. And the only solution ultimately that will benefit both the Iranian people as well as the free world is for this regime to no longer be there. I've been arguing this point from the very beginning, that the ultimate solution is regime change. Now we have an opportunity because this regime is at its weakest point.
The Iranian parliament is preparing a bill that could push Tehran towards exiting the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. The NPT, which Iran ratified in 1970, guarantees countries the right to pursue civilian nuclear power in return for requiring them to forego atomic weapons and cooperate with the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA. Last week, the IAEA declared that Tehran was in violation of its NPT obligations. Soon after Israel began bombing Iran, saying that it was on the verge of building a nuclear bomb, Iran, however, has always said its nuclear program is peaceful.
We will certainly make the appropriate decision in light of recent developments. Any decisions made by the parliament are binding for the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The proposal to withdraw from the NPT is currently being drafted.
Israel, on the other hand, never joined the NPT. It was widely assumed by most Arab countries that Israel is the only country in the region to possess nuclear weapons. Tel Aviv has never confirmed or denied this claim. The International Atomic Energy Agency has previously reported that the smallest of Iran's 3 enrichment plants, an above-ground pilot plant, at the sprawling Natanz nuclear complex had been destroyed in Israeli attacks. While there was no sign of a physical attack on the bigger underground enrichment plant at Natanz, its power supply was destroyed, which may have damaged the uranium enriching centrifuges there. No damage was seen at the Fordow plant dug into a mountain.
Military escalation threatens lives, increases the chance of a radiological release with serious consequences for people and the environment, and delays indispensable work towards a diplomatic solution for the long-term assurance that Iran does not acquire nuclear weapons. Consistent with the objective of the IAEA and its statute, I call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint to avoid further escalation.
EU has put its weight behind Israel, saying that Iran can never have nuclear weapons.
Israel has the right to defend itself. Iran is the principal source of regional instability, and we've always been very clear. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We have voiced our strong concerns over Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. A diplomatic solution remains the best way in the long run.
Another round of Iran-US nuclear talks was scheduled on 15th June. But Israel's strike on 13th June derailed it. Bureau Report, India Today.
And while Iran has told mediators Qatar and Oman that it is not open to negotiating a ceasefire while it is under Israeli attack, world is trying to persuade both Israel and Iran to de-escalate. And to that end, the American president hoping Vladimir Putin will play a crucial role. Interacting with the media at the G7 summit in Canada, the American president warned Iran that it's not winning the war. US officials have confirmed that President Trump does not intend to sign G7 statement on Israel-Iran conflict.
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. they have to make a deal. And it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
The US president and the Russian president both agree that there should be de-escalation in Iran-Israel tension. When Vladimir Putin called Donald Trump to wish him happy birthday on Saturday, they discussed the current Middle East crisis and ways to resolve it.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
Russia is ready to act as a mediator in the conflict between Israel and Iran. Before Israel launched strikes on Iran, Russia had proposed to remove highly enriched uranium from Iran and convert it into civilian reactor fuel as a potential way to calm the crisis. Kremlin stands by the proposal as both sides continue to bomb each other for the fourth consecutive day.
This proposal remains on the table. It remains relevant. But of course, with the outbreak of hostilities, the situation has become seriously complicated. And we know that combat activities were actually launched on the eve of the planned next round of indirect talks between Iran and the US, mediated by Oman. And here Russia remains ready to do everything necessary to eliminate the root causes of this crisis. Once again, here we can say, but the situation is being escalated more than seriously, and of course all of this does not affect the situation for the better.
China too is willing to play a constructive role in de-escalating the Israel-Iran conflict that, despite everyone's best intentions, seems unlikely to scale down anytime soon. Bureau Report, India Today.
As Israeli airstrikes rain down on Iran, India is relocating its students, mostly from Jammu and Kashmir, to safer zones within the country. Evacuations are underway from major universities following emotional protests by parents in Srinagar. The embassy is coordinating in real time, but as tensions escalate, how long can safety inside Iran really last?
Amid relentless Israeli strikes on Iranian targets, India is evacuating its citizens stuck in the region. India's Ministry of External Affairs on Monday confirmed that some Indian students are now being relocated to safer zones within Iran. Students from Tehran University of Medical Sciences, Islamic Azad University and Iran University have been successfully relocated. The relocation of students from Shiraz University, Isfahan University is scheduled for Tuesday. Most of these students are from Jammu and Kashmir, pursuing medical and other courses across cities like Tehran, Shiraz and Qom.
I know it is possible for Indian government to help us. They can evacuate us. जब यूक्रेन में वॉर हो रहा था, they did लोगों ने यानी ceasefire की डिमांड की थी, I think if I'm not wrong, and उन लोगों ने evacuate किया था बच्चों को. हम चाहते हैं कि please हमें भी इस time पे करें.
The move follows protest in Srinagar on June 15th, where worried parents demanded swift evacuation.
कोई फोन नहीं, नेटवर्क भी बंद, सारा कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. वो बोल रहे हैं कि बस हम गए. अब हमें कोई उम्मीद नहीं है कि हम दोबारा आप लोगों को देखेंगे. उनको इवैक्यूएट करवाएं as soon as possible. और हमें कुछ नहीं, हम एलजी साहब से रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, हम मोदी साहब से हैंड फोल्ड रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, हमारे बच्चों को इवैक्यूएट करवाएं as soon as possible.
The Indian embassy in Tehran is closely monitoring the situation and has begun relocating students from high-risk areas. A Google form and Telegram channel have been activated for real-time updates and coordination. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah posted on X that he had spoken to External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Iran remains a popular destination for Kashmiri students due to affordable education and cultural familiarity. However, that comfort is now being shaken by the raging conflict. Bureau Report, India Today.
And well, Canada is ready to host the 51st G7 summit in Kananaskis in Alberta. US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, EU President Ursula von der Leyen have all reached Canada. This summit comes amid the Iran-Israel conflict, the Russia-Ukraine war, and Trump's trade standoff. On the agenda, many topics will be discussed, including the growth of AI, critical minerals, and infrastructure. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his way from Cyprus. This is the first international summit of Prime Minister Modi after the success of Operation Sindoor. There is a possibility that Prime Minister Modi will have multiple bilateral meetings, including with the US President. Well, this is also the first visit of Prime Minister Modi after Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney took over. Indian-Canada ties are on the edge since Trudeau's tenure, and this visit may ease tensions and boost relations. US President Donald Trump, while talking to the media on the first day of the summit, spoke about the possibility of including China in G7 and also said that it was a mistake to throw Russia out of it. And the US President also indicated that a trade deal with Canada is achievable.
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk to. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8, as I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted, and I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it, I can tell you. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that our primary focus would be trade and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like, but we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something, hopefully.
And time now for a quick update on other global headlines in the world in a glance.
Energy services firm Baker Hughes has confirmed that all its facilities are operating normally in the Middle East. But the energy firm remains watchful of the impact the fighting between Israel and Iran could have on energy supplies. Baker Hughes has a substantial presence in the Middle East, including an oil services hub in Saudi Arabia. A massive two-day manhunt ended with the arrest of 57-year-old Vance Bolter for allegedly killing a Minnesota Democratic state lawmaker and her husband while posing as a police officer. Bolter allegedly shot dead Melissa Hortman, the top Democrat in the Minnesota House, and her husband Mark in their home on Saturday. Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz characterized the killing as politically motivated assassination. Authorities said Bolster also allegedly shot and wounded another Democratic lawmaker, John Hoffman, and his wife. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Kazakhstan to participate in the China Central Asia Summit. Xi was greeted by Kazakh President at the airport in Astana, where the two presidents watched dancers performing in traditional clothing. The China Central Asia Summit is scheduled for June 16 to 18. An Air India Boeing 7878 Dreamliner bound for New Delhi returned to Hong Kong International Airport shortly after takeoff as a precautionary measure following a suspected technical issue. The flight Air India 315 landed safely and was undergoing checks. Air India said in a statement describing the incident as a technical issue but declining to provide further details. A flight information screen at Hong Kong International Airport showed the flight as delayed following its return.
And well, hold on to your handbags. The holy grail of fashion is back. Not just any Birkin, the OG Birkin, the very first, one slung casually over the shoulder of style legend Jane Birkin herself, is going for auction. Born from a mid-air sketch in 1984, this bag didn't just carry essentials, it carried history. And now it's making a grand return at Paris Haute Couture Week. Let's take a look at this report.
It's not a Birkin, it's the Birkin. Yes, you heard that right. The original Birkin bag, once owned by the legendary British-French actress, singer and style icon, Jane Birkin, is headed to auction. This is no ordinary handbag. Dubbed Le Birkin, this one-of-a-kind piece was created exclusively for Jane herself after a chance encounter with Jean-Louis Dumas, then head of the French luxury house Hermès, on a commercial flight from Paris to London in 1984. During the flight, Jane shared her frustration about not finding a handbag that was both stylish and practical. Moved by her dilemma, Dumas quickly sketched a design, one that would become a global fashion symbol. The result, the iconic Birkin bag, named in her honor. Jane Birkin carried this very prototype for nearly a decade before auctioning it off in 1994 to support a French AIDS charity. It changed hands again in 2000, purchased by a private luxury collector who has kept its price a well-guarded secret until now. This historic handbag will be back under the hammer on 10th July, coinciding with the start of Haute Couture Week in Paris. Experts estimate it could fetch a six-figure sum, cementing its status not just as a fashion statement, but as a piece of cultural history. Bureau Report, India Today.
And while OpenAI has announced a strategic partnership with toy-making company Mattel, could the future of toys be interactive dolls? Here's Cyrus with more.
Imagine that in the future, toys would be able to speak with us like real humans do. Do you think that would be a reality? Well, I think it would, because OpenAI has announced a strategic partnership with Mattel, the same company that makes Barbie dolls. Now, what could this partnership mean? Well, toys might have AI intelligence inside of them, and OpenAI is looking to diversify its portfolio, maybe get into toys, maybe get into how you can change the entire paradigm of how we experience toys. Now, this strategic partnership could also mean that Mattel is looking to incorporate some AI tools within the enterprise. We do not know a lot. However, AI companies getting into toy manufacturing and companies like this could just revolutionize the way that we use or buy toys. What do you think? Will AI really make it into toys? He agrees. What do you think?
On that note, it's a wrap on World Today. News and updates continue on the other side. Keep watching India Today.